Hi, I'm Lindsay and I'm here at JTech, and today we're going to be doing a video on the starting system. Alright, so now we're going to do a starter bench test, which we hooked up a battery right down there for power, and we hooked the negative to the starter case and the positive to the S terminal here, and this is going to act as our ignition switch. Now when we touch this to the power source, a plunger is going to start in here, which is in turn going to start the electromagnetic in the starter motor, which will push the pinion gear out, and it'll start turning the flywheel, which will start the engine. So now we're going to test the starter to make sure that it works. And it's working. Now I'm going to do an open voltage test on the battery. We're going to hook the negative lead to the negative terminal and the power lead to the power side of the battery. We'll turn it on to volts. And a fully charged battery should read 12.6. This one's not fully charged, so it's saying 11.97, but a fully charged one would be 12.6. Alright, now we're going to do the starter draw test, and we're going to use the starter load machine. We're going to hook the positive to the positive and the negative to the negative, and we're going to put this closest to the body, which reads the amps. And then what we're going to want to do is disable the ignition by taking out the ignition fuse, but we still want the car to crank, just not start, so that we can test to see how many amps are coming from the starter. So we're going to go ahead and start the car. Now we're going to do a voltage drop test on the positive side of the starter. So I take my positive lead and I put it on the positive side of the starter, and I take my negative lead and put it on the positive side of the battery, and then we turn it, and it went up to 0.2, which is just right where it should be for this vehicle. Alright, now I'm going to do a voltage drop test on the negative side of the starter. So we're going to want to take the black lead and hook it to the negative terminal on the battery, and take the red lead and put it on the outside casing of the starter, and then start the car. And that was the negative reading. Okay, so here's the wiring diagram for the starter that I printed off of Pro Demand for this 2004 Honda Accord manual transmission. The power is going to start here in the battery. Here's the ground and here's the positive. And then it's going to travel through this fuse, which is underneath the hood. Then it's going to travel through a second fuse, which is underneath the dashboard. And it's going to come up here to the ignition switch, which is where you turn the car over. This is going to close, and the power is then going to travel down here to this relay, which is underneath the dashboard. This coil right here is going to become magnetized, and it's going to follow over here where it again closes and becomes active. Then it's going to travel down here to the starter, where it gains power. This coil right here becomes magnetized, and then it's going to come over here, and you're going to ground out right here, and this is where your starter motor is going to start the vehicle.